Sweethearts, this is Rowan again, and I didn't blow dry my hair, and I just noticed that I missed the time to go get... Oh, come here, Nigel. Oh, the hell with you, kitty. I wanted some chicken fried rice, but the little greasy chopstick place up around the corner from me, they closed about 15 minutes ago or something. So, I'm not getting my fried rice, and it is too late to, text a young man I'm cohabitating with while he's still at work, to ask him to swing by someplace. Actually, I don't even know if there are any places between here and the, where he's working at, that are open later, and I don't even know if he's planning on getting a ride home with one of his co-workers. Oh wait, he'd have to, because he mentioned that he's closing tonight, so he'd have to... Oh, yeah, I don't think there are any places that are open past 10 that have Chinese food, and I'm really, really mourning the loss of my fried rice that never was today. And speaking of chicken fried rice, I was reminded of this a couple days ago when I posted something to Instagram, and if you have been watching me on Instagram, well, pretty much since I've been on Instagram, which was just before I moved back to Ypsilanti, you would notice that about a year, up until about maybe a year ago, I would post a lot of food porn. Low-budget, homemade food porn, you know, like... A lot of people will, you know, have, you know, these high-res photos that, you know, take these gorgeous photographs of various lovely dishes that they eat. And me, I go to Noodles and Company, and I take a nice, you know, picture that's, you know, mostly clear. Sometimes I run one of my, you know, vintage look filters through it, and, you know, I post that. Or I will, you know, make something that I'm really proud of, that I made this this sweet potato and black bean chili that turned out to be vegan, just the recipe I used, and I will tag it with as many relevant tags. And the reason I do that, or did that, I don't do it so much anymore because I just did not have the patience and sanity necessary to respond to that, you know, when I could, or block it off when I couldn't, and, you know, or, like, ignore it when I couldn't. So, the reason I stopped doing that is, you know, at least so much, is because, well, first off, a lot of people seemed to be under the impression that I was vegan or vegetarian. In fact, I had a couple comments, you know, one person I remember specifically, like, when I posted something with fish in it and tagged it what pescatarians eat, and I'm not pescatarian either, I eat mostly vegetarian because meat costs too much to have every day, but I'm going to get to reasons, for why I'm not vegan in this video. But yeah, they seemed personally offended, you know, and demanded to know why I'm not vegan. And my response was very, and there was somebody else, you know, later that week, maybe a day or two later, who asked the same question, like, you know, or they seemed more like they weren't demanding, but they thought that I was, you know, they made it clear that they thought that I was, because, you know, I would post, you know, the food porn, and I would hit all the relevant hashtags on it, simply because, like a normal person, or at least a normal person who enjoys eating when I have to, which would be most normal people, I am always on the lookout for recipes that I can afford to make that seem like they'd be relatively easy, relatively tasty, and so, you know, and I come from this with the mindset that, you know, people who say that they don't like vegan food, they don't like food, because if you think about it, like, you know, most food that people eat just happens to be vegan. You know, shit. I made Rice Krispie squares, and if you make the... And yes, I put chocolate chips on top of them, don't judge me. I brought them out to the front room because my knee did not want to stand over the stove to press them into the pan. But, so yeah, you know, you just use a different, you know, you just use a different baking stick, you know, with butter, or, you know, I guess it would be vegan butter-like substance. The Earth Balance is really good. I use it sometimes when I can afford it. But most people, you know, like, the Rice Krispies, just, like, straight-up Rice Krispies, that's vegan, you know? You put, you know, if you put almond milk on it instead of dairy milk, it's, you know, it's the same thing. It's food. Most food, it happens to be vegan. You know, fruit is vegan. Salads, depending on the dressing you put on them, that's vegan. Most dry cereals are vegan. So, oh wait, no, I think there's gelatin in the marshmallow. You can find vegan marshmallows. But the puffed rice cereal itself, that's vegan, right? So, you know, it's just, just because I do eat meat doesn't mean I always eat meat. And the person who, you know, just seemed curious because they thought that I was, you know, that's fine, they seemed fine. But the person who demanded to know why I'm not, I responded, you know, with my reasons, which I thought were all very good, sound, and logical reasons, and maybe you can tell me if they are or not. So, the first reason is kind of a two-part, depending on how you look at it, and this is related to my own personal dietary needs. The first and foremost being, I'm allergic to soy. Yes, it's a fairly mild allergy. Thankfully, the Greasy Chopstick, sort of Chinese place up around the corner from me, they will gladly take soy sauce out of anything, out of anything possible anyway. And soy sauce is fermented, and in small amounts, like the dumpling place up on Washtenaw, you know, I'll just get a little bit of an upset stomach. For most of them, it's not in the fish and... There's no soy sauce in the fish and chive one, so I'm okay with those. But, you know, just about all the other dumplings that they have, there's a little bit of soy sauce in place of salt. That's understandable. It's fermented, so I'll get a little bit of an upset stomach. It's not that bad. You know, I just don't have dumplings there that much. But I do go up for my chicken fried rice up at the little takeout place by me, because, well, it's like right around the corner, and it's $6 for chicken fried rice. You know, for like a big quart of it, too. It's wonderful. And I don't have to eat for the rest of the day if I just gorge on that. Maybe I'll have a Rice Krispie square afterward. I don't have the fortune cookie because there's soy flour in the fortune cookie. I can't have most of this pre-sliced bread down the bread aisle at Kroger. I can't have that because there's some combination of soy flour, soy lecithin, which is specifically the protein associated with the allergy, or both. So I have to go to the bakery section, meaning that $2 sliced Kroger brand bread, I can't eat that. I have to go to the bakery section and get this big $4 loaf that, on the good side, it's really good bread. It's much better than the other stuff, but sometimes you want that Wonder Bread and American cheese. I can't have American cheese due to soy content. I can't have most tinned tuna brands due to soy content. In fact, when I was just at the food pantry a couple days ago, I did get a tin of tuna. The young man I'm cohabitating with does not like tuna. I also got this bag of chocolates that I can't have due to soy content, because soy lecithin is used as an emulsifier in chocolates, most American chocolates anyway. I mean, I can get these little artisanal chocolates that are like $5 an ounce, and I'll try to make that last as long as possible, but, you know, that's expensive. So, speaking of the chocolate chips, though, the brand I use is Enjoy Life, They are free of most common allergens. They're free of dairy, nut, and soy. So oh yeah, and certified gluten-free. So good for celiac. Good for you know, all the common allergens that are commonly that typically end up in chocolates. So I do believe they're vegan. You know, oh, yep, right down there's the little vegan symbol. So, if that matters to people, it's a really good chocolate. I use it whenever I'm making anything with chocolate. I'm gonna make some mint chocolate chip ice cream, after my young man gets back from seeing his family out in the Colorado, Utah type area for a big Mormon thing he's doing. He's no longer, but he's there for his family. So I'm going to make him some mint chocolate chip ice cream, which I agree with him is the best ice cream, but I can't get it from the store. So I can't have soy, so everything that is very inexpensive and associated with, you know, like, it's pretty much a vegan, you know, it's a vegetarian staple is soy products. You know, soy is in just about everything, you know, that's made. So, you know, I have to look at labels all the time, and, you know, there's a lot of things where I'll just stick to single brands because I know I can have this. I don't get too adventurous, except when I'm making things at home, so, which, with my pain management, I can only really I can plan around being adventurous a few times a year, and, but otherwise I keep a lot of things around. I know things that are generally safe, I know things, but it's a huge pain. Like, I just kind of steer away from anything with chocolate in it, unless, you know, it's a specific brand of chocolate, and then I'll make it myself. So, I'm also anemic. So, and unfortunately, because I've been eating more vegetarian stuff, because my young man is vegetarian, and it's just easier, like, if we're going to be having, you know, if we're going to be sharing meals at home, which we don't always do, but sometimes we do it about half the time, we share meals about half the time, and it's just easier to make something that we both can eat than make two separate meals. This is obvious. So I eat vegetarian more often since he's moved in, and that's fine. That's fine. You know, the average American eats far too much meat to begin with. So, excuse me. So the average American eats far too much meat to begin with. I should probably, you know, I've made efforts to reduce meat consumption pretty much since I was about 12. When I was 6 years old, one of my favorite films, not the favorite film of mine, which was Pee-wee's Big Adventure, when I was 6, yay! But one of my favorite films was the Rex Harrison Dr. Dolittle, and, you know, this was a goal of mine for like a month, to be a veterinarian and a vegetarian, because that was the shtick in, you know, Dr. Dolittle. The real one, not the Eddie Murphy one, and it's, you know, and it's because the Eddie Murphy one's got nothing to do with the books, really. It's just borrowing the name and, you know, a vague shtick, common to the story. But what was I saying? Oh, so I've made efforts to reduce meat, unfortunately, because my young man is vegetarian. I've been eating more vegetarian, since he's moved in, and because of that, I've been eating a lot less meat, and, I recently, back in December, I had my annual, playing with a bag clip, my annual wellness exam with my doctor. And because of all the medications I'm on, and my history with anemia, and, my history with hypoglycemia, you know, she just did a full blood panel, and, on the good side, you know, I'm not hypoglycemic. There was a brief time when I had an extra 80 pounds on, where I was kind of, like, you know, just towing into, pre-diabetic, but, you know, I dropped 80 pounds and that went away too. So I'm no longer, I've been out of that category for a couple years now. Oh god, since I've moved back to Ipsy, so about 3-4 years I've been out of that category. But she did note that my anemia has gone, it's gotten at the worst point she's seen in the last 10 years, which is not good. Unfortunately, you could say, oh, just take some iron supplements. Iron supplements constipate. In fact, they're not in front of me, but the multivitamin that I take doesn't have iron, because when I was taking the multivitamin with iron, that also constipated. And unfortunately, the iron supplements that don't constipate, I can't afford those. My therapist, I was recently talking to her about this, because, she just asked, oh, have you, you were up for your wellness exam? And I said, yeah, and I'm a bit more anemic than I have been, in the last decade, and, she is vegan, well, flexitarian, I guess, she says she cheats with fish, but, she's dairy-free, egg-free, meat-free, doesn't, she's not gonna, like, harp on it if, there's a little bit of, like, beef fat in something, by accident, more like what a unnatural vegan would call an ethical vegan rather than dietary, she won't throw it away, if it comes to her that way on accident, or if she didn't think to ask, but, she's vegan, basically, except for the occasional fish, but, so she's mostly vegan, and she was saying, oh, well, what about leafy greens? And I point out, well, much like the iron supplement that doesn't constipate, the big leafy greens, that's expensive for somebody, even on food assistance, and while I am getting the max for a single person, that only takes care of so much, I did the maths, it's about $47 a week approximately. The way I usually do that is I'll get a lot of dry staples right away, and then the way it works out, it's between, right away, and then after I do that, it's, I've got between like $20 and $30 a week for the rest of the month, and, I supplement that with the food pantry, and, when stuff comes to the food pantry, when there's meat, I'll just take the meat, because that's meat I don't have to buy. Speaking of, as I mentioned, that, meat can get expensive to eat every day, so, that is meat I don't have to buy. It is, it was offered, it was free. If I don't eat it, somebody else will. I can eat it. I don't restrict myself to even vegetarian. And then there's the fact that, so not only is, like, eating a lot of iron-rich, leafy greens, fairly expensive, there's the fact that even if I could afford it, there's the fact is, like, is it going to be filling enough? Am I be able to going to eat enough to be satisfied, with it? And, then, like, if I could afford to have some, like, every day, even every other day, if I could afford that, if I could afford to have enough, like, like kale and broccoli and all that every other day, would it even be, would I be able to eat enough to even meet my nutritional needs with the anemia? So, it's just easier. It's easier on my budget, it's easier on my physical, system to just have red meat once a week. That's my day I have red meat. Usually it's Sunday, because I grew up with, my grandparents were from England, so you gotta have a roast on Sunday, right? You gotta have a roast on Sunday, even if my roast on Sunday likely has taken the form of a meatloaf that I'll do up, and I'll do it once, I'll cut it up, I'll freeze the leftovers, I'll take out a slice at a time and make it a sandwich. Once I gorged myself on a fuck ton of meatloaf, but that was after my cold. That was after my cold, and suddenly, like, you're ravenous after your cold because, you had a lot of, your body was burning a lot of calories trying to fight off the virus, right? So, I'm allergic to soy, I am anemic, and I am broke as fuck. So, I'm going to, hopefully figure out how to insert some photos. If I can't, my Instagram is Ruadhán1334, Ruadhan1334, just like here, right? And I have kind of been slowly infiltrating the Why I'm Not Vegan tag on Instagram with photos showing the price disparity between, dairy and eggs and meat and the vegan or even vegetarian options, because I love corn. But the American version, except for the spicy chicken patties, most of the corn branded stuff has eggs in it, but it's fucking delicious. It's fucking delicious. And I usually get coupons for it, so when I get coupons for it, I coupon the fuck out of it, and it is yummy. It is yummy stuff. And it's okay on the iron and protein that I need. So, allergic to soy, broke as fuck, anemic, and the last item for why, even if I were vegetarian, I would probably, even if I were vegetarian, even if I cut out dairy and eggs, I wouldn't adhere to the vegan lifestyle because, okay, and I picked up this cat toy for a reason, not just because it's fluffy, but because it's fluffy. So we've got this this marabou trim on the end, and marabou is it's a specific ostrich feather, and if I'm wrong on that, I'll put a link there. But it is indeed feathers. In fact, a lot of cat toys that I've got have feathers on them, and this is some kind of vinyl, like polyvinyl plastic sort of thing with a shiny bit to it, and but this the polyvinyl this part is probably in the family of vegan leathers, and unfortunately faux leathers and faux furs and faux feathers are made of plastic, and if you actually pay attention and care about the environmental reasons to go vegan or vegetarian, based on water consumption and other carbon footprint datas, and this is all compelling data, and theoretically I agree with it all on paper, but it is not something conducive to my dietary needs or my finances, and but when you get to the faux leathers and the faux furs, this is a terrible carbon footprint. Obviously, they split the difference from the Petco fluffy. Obviously, Petco split the difference with the cat toy there, but so faux leathers and faux furs are made of petroplastics, which is a fossil fuel. This is the crude oil. These are petroplastics. These are non-biodegradable for all intents and purposes. They're made from a limited resource. They are not at all a sustainable resource, and and fashion is one of the biggest landfill problems, especially fashions made with synthetic fibers such as plastics, such as faux leather, such as faux fur. I do wear leather because leather boots, leather shoes are literally the most durable shoes you can buy. Faux leather, like my young man, he's got these imitation snakeskin, faux leather shoes that he hasn't even had them a year. They're falling apart. Not only do they have holes in the soles, like the soles on each shoe are just, and yet he wears them. still, because, you know, he paid $30 for them on Amazon, and he's gonna get, you know, another $20. He's gonna wear them out $20 more than they were actually worth, right? You know, they look nice, and they make you feel better, because it's not actual animal skin, right? But, you know, they're terrible for the environment. They don't hold up, and at the very least, leather's is, when you use leather, rather, you know, even if you don't eat beef, you know, you're recognizing that, okay, we're not going to end the consumption of meat in my lifetime, but the rest of the animal's not going to go to waste, because, you know, we don't eat beef hide. We don't eat beef hide, just face that. We don't eat beef hide, so, you know, and there is a minority of vegans who buy leather shoes, you know, just because they hold up better for the kind of work that they have to do. Like if, you know, a vegan is working construction and, you know, they need, you know, a good pair of shoes, you know, or other kinds of factory work. You know, a good pair of leather shoes will last you about 10 years. I have Doc Martens that are about, like, 10, 12 years old. Shit, my little pair of red 1460 Docs, the 8 holes, my Oxblood red ones, those I've had, and those are the Made in England ones, the Made in England line. Those, I've had those, shit, I got those just before I got the surgery here, I want to say a year or two before, so I've had those 11 or 12 years. I've got other shoes that I bought either vintage or bought otherwise secondhand that I know are at least that old. I've got a pair of 14-hole Docs that are in the area of that old. They have the Made in England stamp, so they're older than the Oxbloods. So, and I wear these regularly. I wear these quite regularly. Now, when Docs were my only shoes, I would literally walk through the soles in about 18 months. That's just how hard I am on shoes, and I was at my tiniest weight then, too, so don't say it's because I'm fat. But when Docs were my only shoes, obviously I would walk through the soles in about a year and a half, but you can easily replace the soles, you know, for a less cost than it would cost to replace the shoes. And, you know, if you're going to a cobbler to replace the soles, you know, they won't even touch vegan leather, because it just doesn't hold up to what you have to do to sew new soles back onto the shoes. It just doesn't hold up. It's not made for that sort of thing. So even, you know, like, you know, I took my young man's you know, faux leather, you know, snake print shoes to a cobbler just to see, and he says, no, it's, you know, if these were leather, it would be $80 to replace the soles. But they're not, so it's not even worth it. It's not even worth it, you know. These would fall apart, you know, when I take the old sole off. So, you know, that's the thing, and, so, you know, like, if you actually care about the environmental impact, you know, don't just, you know, go vegan or vegetarian. Like, you gotta cut these mock leathers and fake furs out of your life, because, you know, I mean, obviously, like, use it as much as you can until, you know, it has to be thrown away. And by use it as much as you can, I mean, like, you know, when it starts to fall apart, cut it up, make projects out of it. At the very least, like, give it away to a friend of yours who can DIY it into something like, you know, like a little, like, change pouch or wallet or something, because, you know, you gotta get as much use out of this before, you know, it has to be thrown away. But no, like, you just shouldn't. So, you know, I do wear leather, you know, and there's my famous leather jacket with the Luna moth, with the March Violence Radiant Boy written over the Luna moth. And that leather jacket, that's about 25 years old. At least. At least 25 years old, you know. I have to mend the inner sleeve on the right arm because the thread's coming undone, but the leather's still good. The leather's not rotting or anything, so I just gotta get out my darning cotton and, you know, a couple of the smaller needles and mend that. I might do a video mending that, who knows. I do wear a lot of vintage fur because it's basically recycling. I mean, no further animals have gone to, have died for my fashion choices, because, they died decades ago. In one case, 100 years ago. And in one case, it was my grandmother's engagement present. It was a mink brooch. I might show that off. I'm gonna show that off in a future video, but I can't be asked to go and get that from where I keep it now. So yeah, I mean, like fake leathers, fake furs, they can be very cute. But, until, I've seen some promising articles about pineapple hide, like they're making a leather out of pineapple hide, the throwaway bits, for after processing pineapples, and that sounds very promising. I look forward to that. That is definitely a viable, sustainable, biodegradable alternative to petroplastic, fake faux leathers and petroplastic faux furs. Until pineapple hide becomes a readily available option for people, just you shouldn't wear those, and I am silently judging you for wearing and using fake leathers and fake furs, unless it's, your only option for something like shoes. I mean, if you go out of your way to look for the vegan option, I am silently judging you. And you can tell I'm silently judging you because I've not made any comments about it, and I'm just, because, I don't need to invite that drama into my life, and yeah, that was for my psoriasis cream. So, speaking of, I should probably reapply, and the phone is telling me that I'm running out of video space, so it's time to go just put the video together. I'm probably going to do a video sometime about my psoriasis. I've been dealing with it since I was 8, so it's a part of my life. And I will hope to talk to all of you lovely people again. I don't know, I post videos pretty much whenever, a couple times a week, and if you would like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that happy horse shit that they talk about on the inner tubes, and, oh, my hair's nice and dry, mostly. I love you all, and you take care, and the cats are running wild. Bye-bye. Forgot bats and kisses. Love you.